Good evening and welcome to the home. We're going to do a roundup tonight of all the election results. I'm your host, David O'Reilly, and tonight we'll be going through the overall big picture from the local elections, the number of seats that each party got, who's winning, who's losing. We're going to go through a particular angle on the local elections, which is the nationalist vote, the candidates that got in, the candidates that nearly got in, and how who are those historic few nationalist councillors who've got the ball rolling. We're going to then talk about the concerning news about Anne McCluskey tonight, who was a candidate in Donegal in Letterkenny for the Irish people and is now running for a Westminster seat in Derry, and the result of the court case she was involved in over a COVID fine and the alarming judgment which has been passed down on her position going into the Westminster elections as an independent. We're going to try and bring us into an understanding of the European Parliament, what we're actually electing our European representatives to, and how are things going in Europe, what are the big groupings, how are they changing, what does the European Parliament actually do? The Commission, the role of the Commission, the role of the elected representatives, and the role of the Council in producing legislation from Europe. And finally, we'll go to the individual constituencies in the Euro elections and see how those are going. Some of the counts are very nearly finished. Others have a little way to go, but things are really coming to a conclusion there, and we'll go through them finally. This week we are in election mode. There will not be a weekend evening news from the home, but the following week our schedule with the home will return to usual, and Tara will be back doing the weather. But for this week, let's have a look at the local elections, which are all counted, and we'll have a look at the big picture there. So the local election results with pretty much all of the 949 seats filled. Fine Gael have 245 councillors elected. That's down from 255. Fianna Fáil have 246 councillors elected, and that's down from 279. So the story of this election is that the government parties are slightly down, but all the turmoil was in the opposition parties amongst Sinn Féin, and we'll have a look at how their vote went and the fall in the Sinn Féin vote and the devastating effects of identity politics amongst the opposition parties, and how it's rendered the opposition ineffectual against the government holding up strong, and we'll look into the reasons, or some would speculate on the reasons for that. Labour have 56 seats, down one from 57, according to what we see in front of us. The Greens on 23 seats, a big fall from 49, and that was expected, but to see it the Green vote halved. So one of the government parties suffering in these elections, and we'll see that also reflected in the Europeans as well. So not a bad election for People Before Profit, Solidarity. They have 13 councillors elected, and the Palestinian conflict driving and motivating a lot of people to vote for the left opposition party, People Before Profit. Now, you had Independence for Change the last time, who had 3, and Solidarity, who had 4. So if you look at it from that point of view, they had 14, if you include all of those, and they now have 13. So it's quite possible that if you take that grouping together, that you could say that the left opposition in the person of People Before Profit, as the party is, if you put all of those groupings together, there is a loss of 1 seat there. So identity politics not particularly doing People Before Profit well, but the Palestinian issue certainly making them very relevant for people who are driven by concern for what is happening there. So we'll go, independents are not listed here. Independent, oh yeah, there are 227 independents elected, independents and others. So it's very hard to distinguish what that all means. Independents could be people associated with Rural Alliance, with Independence Alliance, with the groupings in the Dáil. It could be, I would say, even Aontú are included in that grouping, as well as Independence Ireland and the nationalist candidates, which we'll go over there. So Aontú have 8 candidates elected, which is a step up from 3. So Aontú on the rise have almost trebled their representation in the councils, and Independence Ireland have 20-something candidates elected. Now, many of those candidates would have been already sitting candidates, sitting councillors who have joined up with the Independence Ireland grouping, and so we have no breakdown of how many of them were sitting councillors, how many of them are first-time councillors, and how many of those are councillors who lost their seat previously but are back winning a seat back with Independence Ireland. So that's the big picture with the local elections. As we reported a couple of days ago, a historic moment with Malachy Steenson being elected in the North Inner City, probably the first nationalist to be elected, probably since the 50s, if not since the foundation of the state. So a historic moment with Malachy Steenson elected, followed by Gavin Pepper in Ballymun, Finglas, and we covered both their responses to being elected with the Hum a couple of days ago. Let's go over some of the candidates who didn't quite make it, who put in very strong showings, and we'll go over then the more recent candidates to be elected. So Stephen Kerr in Castlebar, in the shakedown for the last seat, didn't quite get over the line. Ross Lahive with the Irish People in contention for the last seat in Cork City Northwest, being pipped to the post by People Before Profit. So Lester Gordon also with the Irish people in Cavan, in Ballyjames-Duff, competing for the last seat with in Ballyjames-Duff, not quite making it there in what I think was a 6-seater. However, yesterday Patrick Quinlan in Blanchardstown, Finglas, or in Fingal, Blanchardstown anyway, elected for the National Party. Let's see, we could go to that constituency there and just go over exactly what happened there. So let's see, can I find it there? Fingal. So that's Patrick Quinlan in Blanchardstown, and here we go. So Patrick Quinlan, he wasn't elected in our last live, but subsequent to it, he was elected, and he started off on 456 votes,